It's a name known throughout the firearms fraternity. Whether a professional gunsmith or an amateur tinkerer, when you need tools or parts to work on or build your gun, you probably turn to Brownells, the family-owned Iowa business, which has supplied pretty much everything we need for more than 8 decades. Pete Brownell, the CEO of the company and the third generation to run the outfit, dropped in to visit with us and share a few stories about this legendary company. Well, we can never run you down anywhere. You're always going somewhere. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, Pete Brownell, CEO of Brownells.
Yep.
You guys been around for 85 years now?
That's right. This is our 85th anniversary is in June, so it's coming right now, and it's also my father's 85th birthday, so kind of correlated.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How we doing? Well, you're third generation.
I am third. Yeah. My grandfather started this whole thing back in '39.
He was a tinkerer. I mean, he was like doing home gunsmithing for himself, right?
He was. So back in he was born early 1900s, and been kind of a jack of all trades. Actually wrote for the NRA for a while. So he was just like you, man.
Did not know that.
Yep. So he wrote for the NRA on how-to articles back in the early days, 1920s. He got this great idea from his audience and from people at the NRA to start writing correspondence and to gun stores or those customers out there and say, what do you want? What do you need out there?
Okay.
And then what the customers basically said were, hey, we need parts, we need tools, we need all kinds of knowledge. It was just everybody coming back right around, well, between World War I and World War II. Mm-hmm. All those guys were fixing those firearms and because they had at home, and they needed parts. And so he wrote Bill Sr. and said, hey, I need some parts, and started a little business that way, just out of the house. Kind of a nice, neat little start, just listening to the customer.
Just one more of these companies that starts like in the garage or the kitchen or whatever and says, well, just tinker with this and see what happens.
Yeah. There was a really neat P.O. Ackley. His grandson showed up with a letter that he had written my grandfather, and P.O. said, hey, this gun thing, this gun tool thing and this gunsmithing thing you're starting, it's a pretty good idea. You should lean into it.
Your grandfather starts this thing. How does it go from like the kitchen table to starting to become like a real business?
There wasn't much information out there on firearms back in the day. What fit with what? When you had a problem, you basically sent it back to the shop, to Ruger or Smith or at the gun companies. The Colt would take it back and fix it, or you just there wasn't really a professionalization of the gunsmithing trade back then. So one of the first things that my grandpa did was the Encyclopedia of Modern Firearms, where he took every firearm in production at that time, broke it down into its parts, took 3 of each, and then measured them all, put them in an encyclopedia. It was a long process, and that became the kind of the Bible for gunsmiths. And it really broadened it out to be, you don't have to have a shop anymore. You could do this at home because you had all the dimensions, what spring, what screw, what fits where. So he mapped modern firearms back in the 20s and 30s.
It's a really ambitious project.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's cool. We've got the drawers and the diagrams and all that kind of stuff at our shop there in Grinnell, Iowa, where he had stored all that stuff and all the history he did around all that.
I don't think it's going too far to say that your grandfather, Bob, changed what being a gunsmith is. Because, I mean, before it was kind of like you had to find somebody who knew how to do this.
Yeah.
And people who did it at home didn't think of themselves as gunsmiths. I mean, we call them kitchen table gunsmiths.
Yeah.
But in a certain way, what he did and through Brownells through all these generations and these years, you kind of legitimize the whole idea of working on or even building your own gun.
I never thought of it that way. I kind of grew up in the whole space, and we were always tinkering at home. So I think, it's pretty nice. That's a nice sentiment to have about your grandfather, how he could change the arc of a profession. I never had a chance to work with my grandfather, but I worked with my dad quite a bit. But there were battles on technology, on change. This whole thing called the internet was a big battle. A vivid argument was, if customers hear us clicking that keyboard when they're on the phone with us, they will think we don't care about them.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a battle to say, hey, this is if we're going to serve more customers, have more relationships, it's hard for a call center agent or somebody that's working for you and with you to pick up the phone and remember who you are.
What you're really describing, at least to me, and with my history with Brownells, is it's always been a company built on culture. How do you describe the culture of both Brownells and your employees?
We work together. Nobody works for anybody at Brownells. We try to keep things personal. I believe business is personal, and we try to, I would say, enrich people's experience when they're working with us. We are an organization that has helped entrepreneurs go from their garage, like we did, to great heights. We just had something called Back to the Lodge. Today's world is there's a lot of remote workers. People have things at home that they got to balance, being a mom or a stay-at-home dad, to help their family out. So we allow them to have a lot of flexibility in that space, kind of respect who they are as people. But then we have come back to the lodge, where we have all kinds of micro adventures for them, from fire building, how to cook in the Dutch oven, go out on a bike ride, go on a big hike. Of course, there's a lot of range time, and there's a lot of safety training that we do as well. So we try to get people involved in what we're doing, is delivering an adventure and stretch who they are, because when they feel that they can do more, then they're a lot more confident in who they are, and that's the kind of culture and that we want to have, and we want to exude that to our customers as well.
I don't know if you noticed, we kind of recreated the Brownells logo with these ram horns back there. Where'd that logo come from?
It's a Dall sheep. And Dall sheep were mountain sheep up in Alaska and the Yukon Territory. That was a symbol that my grandfather picked because it was a dedicated, intentional, difficult hunt. And you really got one shot, and it was a long range shot usually. So in order to get to Canada back in the 20s and 30s, or into Alaska, I mean, it was a steamer ship. It was dedicated. Everything had to work. Your firearm, you had to have practice, you had to have determination, you had to be thinking about the future and all the scenarios that could have gone right or wrong up in the mountains. And you got one shot, usually 300 to 700 yards, so the firearm had to work and you had to work. And we wanted that to represent what our company was all about. We're going to make sure that you're prepared. The stuff that we give you works. It's going to work the first time. It's going to work throughout its life. That's where our guarantee is kind of based on that same philosophy. It's all the tools need to be the right tool, and that was on their philosophy of, if you buy a cheap tool, you've got the wrong tool. If you overspend on a tool, you've got the wrong tool. It's kind of finding that Goldilocks zone. It's got to work the first time. It's got to work every time, and it's got to bring value to you. And we wanted that Dall sheep ram to kind of represent what we're all about.
You're CEO now, but you didn't jump right from school to Brownells. You actually took quite a while off. What were you doing, and what was that path?
One of the family rules is you have to go work for somebody else before you come back here. You have to have a legitimate career before you come back, or if you come back. Go test it and see what it was. So
why is that?
Thinking about it now, that I have kids in the fourth generation possibly, go lose money on somebody else's dime. Go make your mistakes someplace else. Learn how to be a leader, learn what good leadership is, and find your own path. If you don't have the chops to lead outside, you don't have the chops to do it inside. So it was a good experience for me to go out, and I worked in construction, which is pretty tough. I got a chance to learn good leadership there on the professional side, and also do the construction side too. And it was a union shop, so I had to make sure that I could be the right kind of person for those workers in the field. We were doing elevators and escalators, and then be the right kind of person to understand how all that connected with big construction jobs or remodel jobs. But I was down there in the Silicon Valley when it was really entrepreneur, really interesting people to talk to about modernization and what the next trends were going to be, and it was pretty impactful.
When did you start climbing mountains?
So that was actually going to be my first job, was to be a mountain guide. The guy that was my best man at my wedding, we started off, we would do 14ers out in Colorado, and I was a big rock climber, the vertical rock climber as well.
You've gone all over. What mountain ranges have you climbed?
So we've been, Rainier's a big one, all through California, a lot of the 14ers out in Colorado, domestically. Actually, my honeymoon was down in Ecuador with Cotopaxi, tried to summit Cotopaxi. And we've been over to Nepal and
Done Himalayas?
done the Himalayas, been in the Annapurna circuit.
But you're getting ready to do a really
Yeah.
interesting one in a month or so.
Yeah, we got a cool one coming up in about 3 weeks. We're going to head over to Kilimanjaro. And I've pivoted a bit, so I'm taking a bunch of soldiers over there, and we're sponsoring this. These are soldiers that are special operators. As we all have, if you have friends in this space or families in this space, the suicide rate is incredible for operators. And these are individuals who have been over and done that type of work and have been injured and have been dropped out of the teams, and they have almost a redemption type of mission where they've fallen down, they've hit rock bottom, and these are the people who are going to tell their story about how they have come back from some dark times to inspire other people that are facing these types of situations where they're questioning themselves. We want to give them examples of just what life could be by summiting this mountain from people that have been in their spot. These individuals are, they're fantastic stories of what they've done for America and their teams and the people that they worked with, how they've come back from hips and knees and dark times, and how they've kind of redeemed themselves and worked through all their issues. And summiting a mountain like that is kind of an inspirational story as their stories start to unfold for others.
I asked you earlier, can all these guys make it to the top? And your answer was, if they can't, I'll carry them. You meant that literally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's that mean to you?
So these guys have been, they really, when they're in the military, they've been there since high school. And they know good leaders. They make a commitment to our country. And when they have their friends around them, and they know what good team is about, they know what good leadership is, we have a lot to learn from them as civilians. How do we help do our part for those people that have helped our country, no matter where they are sent, without question? And this is part of what I'm trying to deliver back to them is we care about you, we care about and respect the mission that you're on. It's a tough one, and we want to lean in and help any way we can. And this is helping inspire some of these people that are still coming through our military and struggling, and because it's tough. And so if we have to carry them, we'll carry them.
All right, Brownells has gunsmith parts, tools.
Yep.
But now you're selling rifles and guns.
Right. So yeah, we've moved into the BRN line.
Right.
And it's kind of a retro model to go back and pay homage to that original AR-15 with modern technology, a little tighter tolerances, but it helps people do building. We have building firearms,
right.
Customizing those firearms. It's the BRN line. We did make a run of special full featured firearms, but it's mostly actions and uppers, so people can customize the firearm that they have.
Where do you go from here?
We're going to stay focused on that gunsmith and that home builder, but we've got to improve how we present products. Like you're saying, there's a lot of stuff that we have in the catalog or in the book in the warehouse or available online, and sometimes that scares people off or they don't know what to get. So we need to provide better information to that person who's building say it's a 6.5 Creedmoor again. There's, what do I need for that? If it's a competition, or is it a hunt, or is it, why am I building it? We want to be able to answer that question definitively for that person and make good recommendations, both on the tools they need and the actions they might need, or the finishes. So just give them a real good recipe. So we need to improve that. And once we get that to the point where it's pretty good, we want to look at other areas that gun owner might want to be interested in. We've kind of experimented in the, I would say the prepper market or the preparedness space with food and water, and that's something that would be really interesting for people as well. Because if you're going out hunting, you probably need that stuff anyway. If you're off on your Jeep adventure, you probably need that stuff too. So we're just looking at the customer from their view. Again, that empathy, what's their space, what are they looking at for their adventure, and how do we help be an outfitter for that person?
Pete, thanks for coming out here and being with us. It's always fun to catch up, and I tell you, the Brownell story is one of inspiration, what you've been able to do with it.
Oh, thanks. It's it's been 3 generations, just like you guys are, and many companies in this industry, and it's great to be part of kind of the families that we've all kind of grown up with together, and sharing it with you again is always a pleasure.
Thanks so much.